Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Froome.
What's up, everybody? This is Herschel Froome from High School Top 200, and this is the Monday morning meeting and Top 200 podcast. Welcome, everybody. Hope everyone's keeping safe and staying inside and locking down and also not getting too bored. Yeah, I guess all we have to do is kind of, those working from home, still working. I hope you guys are doing schoolwork. I mean, I guess the ones that want to do schoolwork will do schoolwork. I think there's a lot of people that can easily get away with it, easily not do it. I mean, if I was at school, I'd probably be one of those kids that probably just wouldn't do it or pretend I'm doing it or something like that. I don't know. But I hope, especially you seniors that guys gotta start getting the rest of your credits and figuring out what you guys want to do next year, if you want to study or get an apprenticeship and all those kind of things. Just get a normal job, 9 to 5, and earn some money. Because it's always different, it's always real funny, like when you think about that kind of stuff, especially when you look back, sort of when you're older, like myself. There's always just that reflection of kind of how you were at school. I went to Church College of New Zealand, CCNZ, and it was different there because we were hard out religious, as we always are. We're just hard out religious, so the sort of the mindset or like the planning of how you looked at life was a bit different. And so obviously, if you guys know Mormons or LDS or Latter-day Saints or whatever you guys want to call us, we all go on our missions, or most of us, if you choose to want to go, you go on your mission. A lot of you guys have Mormon friends too, and guys that you play with that are Mormons are probably trying to make that decision now whether they want to go or not. Usually by the time you're 16, 17 if you want to go on your mission or not. And so it's just one of those things. But then you also kind of reflect on like what you want to do when you get back. And so all you guys that are seniors right now and sort of looking into that, deciding whether you want to study, where you want to live, who you want to play for, what contracts you're trying to get, all those kind of things. So, those that are trying to get the rest of their credits, study hard, keep going, because the year's not finished, not even close to finishing yet. Still got a whole term and a half, and so hopefully we open up and be able to get back into it kind of thing. Obviously, everyone knows that pretty much to the 3rd of September or 6th of September, that, all sports and high school and stuff have been cancelled, and so like I'm not too sure what's happening with that. I just saw the message that was going around, and so as far as that's the only information I have from it right now. And if I had any sort of like background stuff, I would, or like behind the scenes stuff, I'll probably tell it anyway. Like, I don't care what people say. It's like if I feel that people should hear it, and then I would just say it. But yeah, it's really gutting, and I know a lot of people have been looking forward to it, and a lot of people have been training towards it. Everyone's having like good years, have been looking for that national title. Everyone's trying to win their own competitions, which the CNI and Super 8 were able to do. They were able to finish off, and we're still waiting for the Wellington one, the North Harbour one, obviously the Auckland A's and B's, and also down in Christchurch. With the Miles Toyota, we were supposed to see Nelson and Christ in the finals. Also, Otago in Southland. I told you, like, anyone that went back and watched that game, I'm telling you, it was the best game of the week. I thought that Otago boys and Southland boys was the best game, and so it's pretty cool that like they. Some of these competitions got to finish theirs. Congratulations to St. Paul's Collegiate, also to Hamilton boys and to Otago boys for all winning their competitions and sort of staying. And it's like the season is pretty long. Like, I know everyone's got their seasons, but then they also got their own traditional games that they play, and adding those to your normal season can be hard. And so I got a lot of respect for you guys that play these long seasons and travel that long as well. Like some of these schools' distances are pretty far away, and so it's pretty Yeah, it's just one of those things, I guess. And, just a big shout out to everyone. And not just the players, the coaches as well. The parents that have put a lot of commitment into that too. And I think a lot of you boys as well. Like, I know that it sucks that, that your season has been cut short. But still just take a small bit of time and just reflect on the people that have helped you and go and thank them before, go thank them for everything they've done, especially your parents. Thank your parents, thank your coaches, thank your teachers that have helped you as well. All those kind of things before, the year is out, because, they help out a lot too. And parents always the ones that just get a lot of hate at the same time, and they're like the most ones that help you guys out. So, that's always, that's just show some appreciation, really. That's pretty much what I'm trying to get at. But I thought, like, with a lot more competitions going on, I thought I'd talk about sort of the road to the top 4 and how I saw it playing out. Because, we're not going to know how it works, or, we're not going to know, how it's going to turn out. But I'll just give you my version of how I thought things were gonna end up, right? So I'll look at like the Blues, Chiefs, Hurricanes, and the South Island, and then I'll just give you like my teams from both the top 4 boys and also the co-ed teams as well, because the co-ed team one is like really interesting too. So should we start off? Okay, we'll start off with the South Island, right? Because Otago had already won. The winner of the Otago comp, which was Otago boys over Southland. If Southland, whoever wins, they go and then they play the winner of the Miles Toyota Cup Championship, which the final was going to be Nelson College and Christ College. And I feel like Christ College were on a better trail than what Nelson College was, in terms of how they were playing, how much more they gotten better. And like, if you think about it, to the quad tournament, and it came down to those two teams in the finals, it was a goal kick was what separated them two. And I have a feeling that if these two teams played, I think Christ College would have won. I actually think Christ College would have won. And I also think that Christ College would have beaten Otago boys. And I thought Christ College would have went to the top 4 representing the South Island. That's how I saw it. There was something about Christ College and the way that they were playing, the way that they, and the forward pack, they're really tough. Obviously with Jack Jones and Hendrix Taylor and Johnny Lee, like those boys, just the way that they were leading around that team, especially within the forwards, I felt that that's where all their momentum came from. All their attack was based off that forward pack, and they were playing so well together that I have a feeling that Nelson College wouldn't be able to beat them, and I have a feeling that Otago boys wouldn't be able to beat them either. Nick Shearer was back and was playing good as well, and so just that combination. Sean was also playing good too. Rutherford. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. You guys have got to forgive me for how many names I have to try and remember for what teams. But in the moment, like it was like Sean, Nick, all these guys that are senior players too. Like I think we forget how balanced the side is too, with how many senior players that they've got and how many younger players that they've got coming through. And so obviously with Ethan Jones and also Jaden Sarr, both year 11s, started and had a lot of time on the field, and those are the boys that are coming through for Christ's, and it's they've just got like really good stock in that way that they've got a good mixture of players, and it's, they're going to hand it on when those seniors leave, and it's going to be, it's going to be really good to see what they look like in the next year. But for this year, I think Christ would have been too strong for Nelson. I think Christ would have been too strong for Otago boys as well. And the South Island, the South Island gets a lot of slack, and rightfully so, right? Like, I think the last time the South Island won a national championship was when Christchurch boys, I think it was, they were going on a run of like 4 in a row or 3 in a row, and like 95 to like 99 or 98 or something like that. There was like just a big chunk, and so like and the South Island teams wouldn't even make it to the finals. Otago boys, I think, was the last team that made it to the finals, and that was against St. Kennigan's in 2011, 12, something like that. And I think they played at St. Kennigan's, and they pretty much just got demolished by St. Kennigan's in the national championship. But I think that was the last time a southern team made the finals. And then the last time they won it was the Christchurch boys teams that had a run of really good teams in a row, and they went back to national. They won 4 national championships all in a row, I think, or 3 national championships. Someone correct me about that. And so, it was just one of those ones where I think that oh yeah, sorry. No, I was wrong. Yeah, the last time they did was when the Crusaders, and the last time that a southern team won the national championship side was in 2006, where Christchurch boys won 3 in a row from 2005, 2004, 5 and 6. And then it was Gisborne boys, Hamilton boys. St. Bede's played a final against Hamilton boys as well, and Hamilton boys won that one. And then 2012, it was the last time that Otago boys, that's a southern team, made the finals, and that was that time. And so every other time it has been one of the other squads. So in terms of like getting a lot of slack, it has just been that way. It's been that way that I don't know. I don't want to be a dick about it and put down these southern teams, because there's so many good players that come out of it, but when it turns into teams, they just don't have stronger teams. They really don't. They just don't have stronger teams than the North Island teams. When it comes to first 15 rugby, I'm not talking about the Crusaders, because all you guys in the Crusaders are going to start talking that mess like, oh, we'll look at what the Crusaders are. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about first 15 rugby. I'm not even talking about reps like under 18 Crusaders, because they always bring good under 18 Crusader teams. But in terms of just first 15s, South Island teams, for the most part, can't hang with a lot of the North Island bigger teams as well. It's the bigger teams. And it's just one of those things where you just don't see them make the finals. And so for me, it would be Christ College that come out of there, and they would be the ones that will probably represent the South Island. So for me, South Island would be represented by Christ College. For the Hurricanes, I think this is how it works, is that Hastings winning. Hastings will go through to play because the Wellington teams is that Wellington Wellington will have both of their finals. This is where I don't agree with it. The two finalists from Wellington will play for a spot to represent the Hurricane region. So it would have been Stream, Scots College and Stream. I think Scots would have won it. I think they would have won the national, the Wellington comp. I think Scots would have won that. But this is kind of where it's different, right? Because Scots College were actually... they were looking at they had put their name down for the co-ed side of it, not the national, not the top four national side, but for the co-ed side of it. So I think that they would have had to play probably Fielding to get through. Fielding would probably be that side, would be the one to beat, and I think they would have had to play Fielding would have had to play Scots, and Scots College would have won that one. And so I don't know how it would have worked in terms of that, because they've never done that before. I don't know if they would have got, Wellington or Town, which one of those two would have jumped in and sort of taken that spot that Scots would have moved from. But Silverstream would have played someone like Palmy. And if they, I think Silverstream would have been able to beat Palmy. I think Silverstream would have also been able to beat Gisborne Boys. I don't think that they would be able to beat Hastings or Napier. And so, for me, if Silverstream and Hastings had to play off and go through, I would pick Hastings Boys to go through over even Napier and Stream and even Palmy Boys. I just don't think that those teams will be able to beat Hastings Boys, especially when they didn't do that throughout the year either. I just don't think that they would have had that, that second wave of, being able to beat them. And so, for me, it would have been Hastings Boys to go through. Now, this is the thing with the co-ed and also the national side, is that everybody is pretty much playing for the national side unless you put your name down for the co-ed side, which means that you have to have a certain amount of girls and a certain amount of girls in your school that are in a certain amount of grades, meaning that you can't just have year 13 and year 12 girls. I think you have to have from year 9 to year 13, or you have to have 3, where it's like year 9, 10 and 11, or 11, 12 and 13, or things like that. Because you have to have a certain amount of girls, and if you don't, then you can't. That's why St. Paul's Collegiate don't jump into that either, but that's also why St. Peter's jump into the co-ed side and not the national, not the top 4 nationals. And so that would have been interesting for Scots to jump in on that side, and having two sides like that being so strong, representing both sides, you could have both teams from the Hurricanes winning, both the co-ed as well as the national top 4 too. So I would have picked Hastings, and I would have picked Christ College for the Hurricanes and the Southern team. The Chiefs side, I would pick Hamilton Boys. Rotorua and Tauranga were supposed to play, so those two were supposed to play. The difference is that there's pretty much just a kick within those three teams together, because obviously Tauranga beat Hamilton Boys, Rotorua beat Tauranga, and Hamilton beat Rotorua Boys, but all of those were just within a kick of each other. Rotorua kicked to win against Tauranga. Tauranga did the same against Hamilton. Hamilton and Rotorua missed a kick to beat Hamilton Boys, but that that's how close this competition was in the Chiefs region. You also got New Plymouth Boys, which I don't think New Plymouth Boys would have beaten either three of those teams, even though New Plymouth Boys beat Tauranga Boys 14-10, I think it was, throughout the season. But I think if Tauranga had to play New Plymouth Boys, then I think Tauranga would have won the second time round. Wesley College wouldn't have come close. And St. Paul's wouldn't have been able to beat Hamilton Boys to be the team representing from Hamilton, and St. John's wouldn't have been able to beat Hamilton Boys either. I just think Hamilton Boys would have had too much for those two teams, but I do think Rotorua and Tauranga could also beat Hamilton Boys and vice versa. I think if it came down to it, Hamilton Boys, after beating Hastings Boys, would have came just off that positive belief in themselves now that they the Super 8 championships again, and also that they beat Hastings Boys, who just beat them the week before, and just that confidence boost in which teams that Nigel always has too. So like, it's just one of those things that I think I just think would have happened is that the Chiefs region would have just been pretty much a Hamilton Boys victory in the end. I think if Tauranga had another shot at Hamilton Boys will win the second time round, with Taylor and Taha both being playing really, really good, as well as both being in the game for the whole game kind of thing. And that's one thing that we do forget is that Taha Kemera and Taylor Keo both got injured in that game, and are probably both going to be New Zealand secondary schools players if it comes around to New Zealand secondary schools and we get to have or see that competition play out, which is going to be a video that I make because I've got some questions about that too, and different ways that I think that we could still have them represent our countries as well, and inviting other countries pretty much New Zealand based. But I picked Hamilton Boys to come out of the Chiefs region. Out of the Blues region, I think it would have been St. Paul's and St. Kennigan's in the finals. St. Peter's and St. Kennigan's in the finals. I'm mixing myself up. Kelson Boys and St. Peter's in the finals. Kelson Boys, I think, would have won. Again, I think it would have come down to a kick. Again, I think it would have come down to a kick or a try or penalty or something like that. But I think Kelson... St. Peter's can beat Kelson. I just think I'm picking that Kelson would win this one. Kelson will then have to play Westlake Boys. Even though Westlake lost twice, I kind of think that I still think they would have won the competition. They just keep losing to Rosmini for some reason. And I think that they're a better team than Rosmini, but they just keep losing to them. And so, like, I just don't think that, I just don't see them losing when it comes to the top four. So I think Kelson would have had to play Westlake Boys, and they would have went through. And so I think Kelson from the Blues, Chiefs would have Hamilton Boys, Hastings Boys will come from the Hurricanes, and Christ College will come from the South. And those are four massively talented teams, right? Then we go to the other side. I think from the South Island, I'll start from the South Island. For the co-ed side, South Island, I think Stack would have come, and I think Stack actually, I got to check on this, but if Stack signed up for the co-ed side of it, I would pick Stack to come through over someone like Rangiora. And there's no really co-ed side from down in like Dunedin and that's even good enough or even to show up to try and beat a team like Stack or even Rangiora. And Rangiora didn't really have that great of a season this year with such a young team that they had, but I would go with Stack. And then so I think Stack would have come out of the South Island. We talked about the Hurricane with Fielding and because Whanganui Collegiate would have had to be the other one. And obviously, I guess I think I might have this wrong, but I think that the last round, now maybe I got to check with the coaches, but I thought that the last round where Fielding and Whanganui Collegiate played was the game that also counted as a CNI game, but also to go through to the top four. Now they did that last year too, and Fielding won that as well, and Fielding won that again this year too. Which put doubt in my mind as well when Whanganui went to play St. Peter's St. Peter's School Cambridge for the semis, and that's why I thought that St. Peter's was winning, because they lost the fielding the week before. But if Whanganui had to play, if that was the game that decided, then it would have been fielding and Scots College, because Scots College would have had to play someone like Aotea or Nainai College or Mana College or Puriru or someone like that, who obviously they played throughout the year, and it just wouldn't have been a good matchup for them. But if fielding and Scots had to play, I would go with Scots 100% all the way. Especially in that Wellington side, in that Wellington area, Scots to me is the best team in that area. So Stack from the South Island, Scots from the Hurricanes. For the Chiefs side, Manurewa, this is the game I went to in Manurewa, and it was raining so much. It was raining so hard. Couldn't even take any kind of photos. I only took a couple of clips because the rain and the wind was blowing so hard that I couldn't even hold my umbrella and then hold, the phone. I was like going like this with the phone. So like if you were watching the clips, that's all you saw was me trying to go like this or trying to hold the umbrella like this, and then my hand was going like that. Couldn't even hold it straight. So Pukekohe, because Pukekohe is so good this year, and they're such a well-balanced team, they ended up beating Manurewa. And their next game, I think, they would have played someone like John Paul College or Trident High School. Someone like that. Te Puke, maybe Taupo. One of those schools in that competition to then play St. Peter's, St. Peter's School, because St. Peter's School would have had to play someone like Cambridge High School or Taumudu High School or Matamata, who would have been another good team to play against, but St. Peter's would have had to play against one of those kind of schools to make it through, unless Hawera sends over a team as well, and that someone would have to go that route, because Hawera is also a really good co-ed school too, that has not had a lot of national, because they weren't playing in the competition. I couldn't even find their games, to be honest, to be posting Hawera's games, but I know that they had a really good squad. They had a lot of boys returning back from under 16s Taranaki, and a lot of them went back there. They didn't actually go to Francis Douglas or to New Plymouth Boys. They all stayed in Hawera. So that side was actually really good. Even in preseason, they did really good in preseason. So that's kind of what I was basing it off. But Pukekohe would have to have played St. Peter's to be the last team that gets into that into the Coed National side. Now, as good as a team as that Pukekohe is, and I know that there's a few boys that go to St. Peter's School, Cambridge, that come from Puke, but I think St. Peter's would have just been too strong for them. I think they would have. It would have been like something like a 20-12 game, or like a 27-17 or 27-15, because Pukekohe can score some tries. They have a lot of good backs. They're 9, 10, 13, 15 are really good. They've got some good forwards, a really good number 8 who's a year 11, and so I think that they would have pushed St. Peter's, but I don't think they would have beaten them. So I would have picked St. Peter's School, Cambridge, to come out of the Chiefs. So we're looking at the Chiefs side: St. Peter's, Scots College, and Stack, and St. Andrew's Stack from the South Island. Stack already has some New Zealand secondary school player, or some Crusaders under 19 players as well. Scots College are full of some young guys. Have got some future New Zealand secondary school players and New Zealand Barbarian players, and St. Peter's School, Cambridge, should probably have a New Zealand secondary school player or two, as well as some Barbarian players, maybe one or two. And then in Auckland, now this is an Auckland one. I didn't actually check who put their name down for the Coed, because there's not actually a place where you can check. You pretty much have to ask the school whether they did or not, and they don't have to tell you. But Mags could have went into Coed. And if I was Mags, I would have went into Coed, because I even though they're in the top 4 for the 1A, if I was Mags, I'll look at my squad and say, we've got a pretty young squad here. Now let's go and get some kind of success and build for next year. And so I would have taken them and would have jumped into into the Coed side, and then play someone like St. Kitts, who they beat during the year. You'd be able to play against someone like Takapuna Grammar or Massey High School, guys like that. Maybe Botany Downs, McLean's, who are really good as well. Like, they would have been able to beat teams like that to go into the Coed side. So if it was up to me, I would have picked the Mags to go through if they had signed up, right? If they had signed up. And they did it a few years back as well. They jumped into that Coed side because they can. They've got like 3,000 students at their school, Coed school. And so it's really, I think it's a great opportunity for you to get some success and some really good games. So if you think about the Coed side, right? The Coed side, you would have Mags. You would have Mags from the Blues, St. Peter's School Cambridge from the Chiefs. You would have Scots College from the Hurricanes, and then you would have Stack from the South Island, and then you would have Christ College from the South Island. You would have Hastings boys from the Hurricanes. You would have Hamilton boys from the Chiefs, and you would have had Kelston boys from the Blues. Now, all those 8 teams that I said, 7 of them are ranked. Stack is the only one that's not ranked. Mags is a top 10 school. St. Peter's was a top 10 school for most of the year, just fell out. Scots was like ranked 11th or 12th or 10th or something like that. Christ was around the 12-13 area. Obviously, Hastings and Hamilton in that top 5, as well as Kelston boys being that number 1 spot. So even when you look at those 8 teams in terms of like a top 4 for Coed and for national size and Coed side, you could probably put all of those 8 teams together and go, well, why don't all 4 of you guys just play off to see who's the national championship side, because all of them are good enough. Now, for me, it's just like people go, well, we got one side and the other side. I'm the type of person who's just like, well, I think there should just only be one championship. I don't even know why we should have a Coed side. It's kind of like in that thing, like everyone wins kind of thing, or let's win something. It's like, well, if that was the case, I would rather do what they do over in the Mount, where they hold a tournament out there. So if people that don't make the national type side, they can still go to a tournament and win it. And I think that should be something as well. I think that if we had more organizations like that and more people that were willing to put in some money and to promote and to really go to a community that's probably a smaller community and invite teams to come for a tournament while the national top 4 is going, so you can have more rugby games and you can extend your season a little bit longer and be with your team a little bit longer. I think that would be great, because those games at the Bay, it's out at the Mount. I can't even remember what the tournament is called, but they invite teams like these ones from like the Bay of Plenty kind of area and from King Country and that, and I think it's such a cool idea. If that was the case, I would go, well, if I was to make up a tournament of teams that didn't go there, I would hit up St. Peter's College from Auckland. I would hit up Sacred Heart. I would also hit up Westlake Boys. I would hit up St. Paul's Collegiate. I would also hit up Nelson, Wellington College, Whanganui Collegiate. I would go to Christchurch and get, St. Thomas, who's had like a really good season, Southland Boys, and then invite all of them to an area and go, hey, let's have our own tournament of like top rated teams that, because of the way that the system's set up, that they don't have a shot to play really for the national championship side. Because in my mind, in terms of my ranking, is that if I was going to put a national championship side of like top 32, how you do it in sort of college basketball, is that, you get the top 32 teams in the country, and then you go obviously 132, and then they all play off until they get to the last two down. I think St. Peter's College and Kelston Boys would be in the finals. The top two teams to me are the ones from two teams from Auckland, and it's not always been the case. And this is kind of what like people are just like, well, Auckland's always going to win it. Not at all. Hamilton and Hastings have always been some of the top two teams. Scots College for probably 2-3 years straight, in a give or take, they would have been the top team when, the Umanga Jensen twins are there, and Alex Fido and TJ Va and Malo Tuitama, like those kind of guys were at Scots College. No one could really beat those guys. They weren't easy beats. They were such a hard team to play. Even Otago Boys had like a run of where they had so many guys in their team that were all New Zealand reps. At one point, I think they had 5 to 7 guys that were all New Zealand reps, New Zealand Barbarians and New Zealand secondary schools. There's been a point where Christchurch Boys have been so good, but then it was the route that they had to take was just like, oh, well, that's ridiculous. I thought that was ridiculous. And then, doing it this way as well, the way that they've currently got it is that they just want one representation from each region, like each region of the country, whereas I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair at all. Because what if the two best teams are just from like Hamilton? Or are just from Christchurch, or are what if Southland Boys and Otago Boys are the two best teams in the country, but they lose out even before they get a chance to go into the top 4? They lose to each other. Like it's like one of them has to cancel each other out, whereas they both could have played in a tournament, both got back to the end, and that would be your final, and that would be a true representation to me of who the top 2 teams in the country are. And that's always kind of been my thing with the way that it's set up. I understand the way that they set up, so they can go, oh, these guys are the best from the Blues, and these guys are like, well, not necessarily. Because St. Peter's and Kelston Boys have to play each other. They have to play each other. Why can't St. Peter's play Hamilton Boys and beat Hamilton Boys and then go through to the final? Why can't they do that? Why can't Kelston go through another direction and go, well, yeah, we want to play Hastings? Something like that, so to me there is this gap where it's just like, well, something needs to be fixed up, because even though you're calling it a national championship side and you're calling it a top 4 and you're calling it them the one team, the national championship of the country, it's like, well, kind of. To me, it's like, well, kind of. There's got to be a bit of a way of finding this out. Now the other side of it is like, okay, let's take it like this is how it goes, right? Is that now that we have the 4 teams, Kelston, Hamilton, Hastings, and Otago, this year, in 2018, they had the Blues and the Chiefs played, and the Hurricanes and the South Island team played. This is 2018. 2019, the Chiefs and the Hurricanes played. That was the Hamilton Boys and Hastings game. And then the Blues and the South Island played. That was the Nelson Kings. And then nothing in 2018. So, this is just what I'm thinking. The next combination that you'll get is that the Chiefs and the South Island team will play, and the Blues and the Hurricanes play. Which means that Kelston would have played Hastings first. Hamilton would have played Christ College first. The winners of those two will go through. I think the winner would have been Kelston Boys. I actually think that they would have beaten Hastings. The preseason game, they did the same thing, even though Hastings is a lot better now. I think it would have been a really close game. And I think Hamilton would have had to play Christ College. And I think they would have put a bit of a number on Christ College, in all honesty. They would have put a bit of a number on them. And so I think the national championship final would have been Hamilton Boys and Kelston Boys, the Blues and the Chiefs, and I think Kelston would have won it. Then go to the other side. Mags would have had to play Scots College, and I think Scots College actually would have won that one. I think Scots College can beat Mags, even though they're ranked high. I still think that they can beat Mags. St. Peter's would have had to play Stack, St. Andrews from the south, which would have been a really cool game. And then Scots and St. Peter's would have had to play the finals. And I kind of think that Scots would have won that one too. Even though Scots is ranked lower than St. Peter's, I kind of think No. I'm going to change my mind. St. Peter's, I think, would have won. I think Dawson Smith would have been too much. I think Cody Vai would have been too much. Cash Farmers, I think that backline would have been... yeah, actually I do. Yeah, I think that... No, I actually think St. Peter's would have won. It would have been St. Peter's and Scots College in the finals, and I think St. Peter's would have won. Scots College is a good side, but I actually think that St. Peter's would have beaten them. Even in the forwards, I think that... But the good matchup is that we would get to see Maya, Tema Smith play Andrew Smith. Would have been mean because both of them are such big time talented players at locks, and just seeing those two go off, that loose trio would have been really good with John T. Smith and even Aiden Christensen and what's his name, Kalolo, I think his name is. Oh my gosh, can't remember his first name, but those kind of guys, that would have been a really, really good matchup. But I think that's what I think that's how it would have played out. I think the national championship side would have been Kelston, and then I think the Coed National Championship side would have been St. Peter's. I think those two would have been the two sides that would have taken it out. They would have taken out that those national championship sides. And it sucks because I'm just explaining it in my head, I'm fantasizing in my head how that'll all go and how play out from one week to the next, and we don't get to see it. It's just me talking about it, but I like to visualize the matchups that they have, like Andrew and Maya playing off together. Man, that would have been such a good thing to see, and the good thing is that in those two teams there's a bunch of young guys for both of those sides to see and play against each other. Sonia Latu is another one who's such a big time player for Scots College, who's a lock, and he's so big and he's so fast, and he gets to see someone like Cash Farmer as well as year 11s, and then sort of seeing each other from year to year grow through. And that's one thing that a lot of boys have told me that in the past is that because I started the year 11s and year 12s after starting the initial top 200, a lot of them watch for where they know that they can see somebody else who's on that ranking when they're in year 11 and then into year 12, and if they actually play against them and see where they go from there on, because that's one of those kind of things that guys look at. Even when these guys played against each other in under 15s and that, Peyton Spencer and sort of guys like Max Ratcliffe and Te Hamana, Te Aote, and Aki Tui Vailala as well. All these guys saw each other at the nationals, the top four, the under 15 nationals, and then they get to sort of see each other in the rankings in the top year 11s, and then this year with the top 100 year 12s, and then next year they're all kind of waiting to see where everyone kind of falls in that. Because even Yeti Campbell, who was injured for last year, and I would like to see him, if this scenario happened where Scots College and St. Peter's played, I want to see Yeti Campbell play against Cody Vai and see what those two do against each other, because they'll both play second five. Where Yeti has got such a mean kicking game, but at the same time, he's a crash ball kind of guy. Cody will have trouble trying to tackle him because he's so big, but at the same time, you'd have to look at Yeti and go, well, you're going to have to worry about this guy's footwork and can you catch him? Because he'll just he'll step in and out on you like nothing. Cody's just so quick on his feet. But I would want to see those kind of matchups. I would want to see Cody and them and that play against each other. I want to see Conrad Newland play Gus Brown from Napier Boys High School and Whanganui Collegiate. I want to see those two play against each other. The two props, because I think they're two of the best props. Even this year, man, I think those two are some of the two best props that you would want to have a go against. Even though you got like guys like Tony Tuffer and from Carlston Boys, and you got Moses Magoon and also Gabe Robinson from Hamilton Boys. Both of those two boys have to be looked at some point for New Zealand reps. And then you got Toby Taylor as well, who's another one that you're just like, you can't kind of really leave him out. You got guys like that who you're like, okay, well, I want to see all those guys go against each other, so all these like matchups and to me those are interesting things. And when I look at it, it's like, yeah, because I see them play against each other when they're year 11s and then year 12s and then in year 13s. I get to see sort of whole 3-year span of their career as first team players and then how they grow from one to the next. That's why I have this little argument sort of with myself about how New Zealand secondary schools are selectors, because they just look at just what they did that year, not the growth of a player and how much better they have and what other things that they have attached to their game from when they were young, because that's how I see it. I see it like these boys are all sort of like, avatar game sort of characters, and then each year goes apart and then they're attaching all these different skills, guns, and that's how I kind of see them. It's just like, well, he added this onto his game and this onto his game and this onto his game as well, so that even if we don't see that, I know that he has that in his bag of tricks that he can do this kind of stuff. It's just like, yeah, he is fast, because I seen him when he was year 11. He's still fast. Year 12 he got a bit bigger, now he's fast again, but he plays a different role. But in my mind, I go, well, I've seen him run and he can still run like that. You just haven't seen it because it's not on tape, because he used to be like that as a year 12. So I always look at it kind of like that, and then keep a track of how guys sort of evolve over the last 2 years after I've seen them at year 11. John Boy Whinianganofo was another one. It's just like, yeah, I saw him at year 10 into year 11 where he had a little bit of an injury and then coming back as a year 12. Ollie Mathis is the same thing. It's just like, well, is he a number 8 or is he an open side? Because he can play both, but he's got a really good running game on him. What is he going to attach onto himself learning from this year into next year? Because his role is not up to him. His role is up to the coach. But I've seen his role in different positions as a crash ball guy this year, and then as sort of like a tackle machine. Not a guy that gets a lot of turnovers, but he makes a lot of tackles. Not a lot of turnovers, but a lot of tackles. Next year, if he adds on this turnover bit onto himself and he turns himself into like a line-out jumper, I know in my head that he's a crash ball guy who's really fast, and then now he's attached himself to the line-outs and also to a turnover machine from a tackle machine. So I've like, to me, in my mind, year 11 and 12, he's add on these two different things. Sione Latu is the same. Sione Latu right now is just a crash ball guy. He's just a raw athletic guy. But once he gets his body into sort of man shape, getting his big muscles coming out and working over the summer, getting fit again, we're going to see a different Sione Latu than we saw this year. He's not going to just be a crash ball guy. Then he's going to be a guy that cleans out. Then he's going to be a guy that supports. A lot of these younger guys become guys that just want to carry the ball, but then they see the value in being able to be a supporter and a guy that can lend his weight to somebody else and then sort of push them through. Like Ezekiel Kolo was kind of the other one for St. Kennigan's, is that he just became a ball carrier. And then then he's going to learn how to scrum. Then he's going to learn how to be a supportive guy. Then he's going to learn how to deal with turnovers in terms of being able to balance himself. Being a big boy, he's just like, yeah, props can get turnovers too. He's got to learn that. Gus Brown is really good like that as a year 12. Now he can steal the ball off you. Gus Brown is a prop, a tight head prop, who is their main jumper. He's got bloody Nick Enor behind him, who's so freaking strong. He picks up the 100 something kg prop and lifts Gus Brown, the tight head prop, as their best option and as a line out jumper. That tight head prop. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how bloody Nick Enor picks up flipping what's his name, Gus Brown, and he gets the ball. Like, he's such a good line out jumper. Now he's a good line out jumper, but holy crap, Nick has got to get a lot of credit for how he can get him up there so fast and quick. Nick must be a monster. He should probably play like American football or something, and play like offensive lineman, maybe a right tackle or something like that. Quick on his feet, really strong, long arms, that kind of stuff. Just really good. Really good strength upper body wise. So like these are the kind of things that I think about it like that, and so hopefully that we'll be able to see a lot more matchups throughout the year, and also throughout the year next year as this all cleans up. Because after this, we've just got sevens. Really, if they find a way of doing it, I hope we get some kind of reps. I hope we still have reps. I hope we still have sevens, and we all just got to be safe and be one as a country and get this over and done with, so that we can go back to living normal again, just how we were before. But yeah, like this is just one of those things, and it sucks that it's happening, and it sucks that it's crept into our sports year, and because I've been really excited about all the games that have been on on this year, and being able to watch everyone play and stuff like that's been so cool. But I hope that we do good as a country again, and we just stamp this out, find all the context and all that kind of stuff, and just stamp it out and just carry on as usual, so we can get back to normal. What other things I want to? I was thinking, because if this extends again, then everyone's going to run out of content to watch. So I'm thinking that if we get extended again, or especially if Auckland gets extended again, I'll start doing positions and guys who I think will make them, maybe like top five guys in their position for New Zealand secondary schools. Because I always have that kind of content with me. Like if you look at all my notes and lists that I have, I always keep a track of the top props who are loose heads, the top props who are tight heads, the top locks, the top blind sides, open sides, and so that's how I kind of keep a track of everyone and where they are, and then how I choose my New Zealand secondary schools. I also choose my New Zealand secondary schools who I think they're going to pick, or who I would pick, not who I think they're going to pick. Because sometimes I do selections based on who I think they will pick, because I know that they pick differently, but I was just going to say who I would pick. And then whatever they do with theirs is whatever they do with theirs. And so maybe I'll do that if this stuff gets extended throughout, another week or so, then I'll probably put out some more content, because I think even though you have stuff like Netflix and Disney Plus and, all that kind of stuff, even YouTube, you can run into some where you just don't want to watch anything. So I'll just put my 5 cent worth of content out there, and then see what happens. And if you want to ask me questions, send me some questions, and I'll just talk about it on here. My 2 girls just do their school during the day, and so I come out here and just work by myself. So if that's what you want to do, ask me some questions, ask me some hard ones if you want. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. If you want to ask some NBA questions, because I like some NBA. I mean, really, if I wanted to talk sports, I'll be talking NFL right now, because preseason's on, and my Chargers played today, and just the preseason game against the 49ers did pretty good. Not really taking much from it, but I'm a Chargers hard. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about rugby, but obviously with the All Blacks and league as well. I love seeing heaps of top 200 players going into league and going through that way, and maybe I'll put out a video with agents, because everyone's starting to sign with agents. Everyone's starting to look overseas. Like I know France and Japan are really looking here, so looking for players, and honestly, boys, New Zealand's not the only place that you can play professionally. You can make a great career for yourself overseas, and the difference is that overseas they don't have the same type of players like we do, and so us going overseas is a bit different, where we don't see this. We see the same type of player everywhere in New Zealand. We have the same types of players everywhere. They do the same thing. If we went over to Japan, if you went over to France, if you went to England or Ireland, you're going to be different. You're going to be the wanted player over there, because you bring something different to everybody else that's on that field. And so it's always a really good opportunity if you get the opportunity to really think about going overseas. Even with the way that it is now, it's just you get to go overseas. You get to be able to have some kind of control over your career. that you don't get stuck here in New Zealand in terms of stuck behind the same guys who are a year older and a year younger. You're stuck in the middle of that, and then you don't really have anywhere else to go. And that's kind of like what it is. That's what it's like in New Zealand. And a lot of guys go, oh, I'm just going to back myself. And it's like, I think you're backing yourself into a corner because that guy's really good. So it's just one of those kind of things, right? So maybe I'll put something out about that. I don't know. Give me some clues if you want. Even if it's any kind of topic, I'll just talk about it, all right? I won't put your name out there either. I'll just ask the question. All right. This is High School Top 200. Hirsch Fruin. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all that kind of stuff. Peace.